Greetings and welcome back to Hebrew Grammar through Implicit Learning and Elaborative Encoding. We're striving to learn the biblical language of Hebrew in the same way that you learned your first spoken language as a child. We're just going through it very quickly, not letting the grammar really bog us down because, I'm not striving to try out to be a Bible translator per se. I have friends that are Bible translators for the likes of Wycliffe and others, and I love that. If you want to do that, the Lord bless you. I would love to speak with you and help connect you to some of those folk that do that. But what I really want you to get out of this video series and out of our textbook is that you learn to just read God's Word. And then as you continue to read God's Word, you'll pick up a lot more of the grammar, much akin to how here in the United States, we have kids reading small books, and then eventually around 3rd, 4th grade, we begin really teaching them the grammar of how these things work. The topic at hand that we're discussing today is 2 more name topics because our book is actually flowing through names to teach principles. The names that we're covering today are Noah and Nimrod, two really fun names, Noah and Nimrod. Noah and Nimrod principle is going to avail to us exactly what participles and infinitives are in the biblical text. Participles and infinitives. So Noah and Nimrod are at that point in time. Participles have an O in the first syllable of the root, hence Noah. Infinitives have an O in the second syllable of the root, hence Nimrod. Okay, so we have O in the first, it's going to be Noah, participle. If there's O in the second, it's going to be Nimrod. There's a little bit more detail to it, so let's walk into this together at this point in time. Participles are words that have both an adjectival as well as a verbal type of characteristics. So for instance, running. He is running. It has its own adjective, it's describing it, but it's also a verb. Oftentimes in English, a participle has the ing thrown onto it. But also participles can be what we call active and passive participles. Active and passive participles. My wife and I used to have a beautiful, lovely German Shepherd, and I love German Shepherds. And so we have 2 pictures here. One German Shepherd that is on that ball mode. He is chasing his tennis ball. It is active. And then we have another German Shepherd, which is the majority of the time for German Shepherd owners, as you would know, that they're just sleeping with their ball. They love their ball. They're going to grab it. They're going to lay down with it, and they're going to sleep with it. It's passive participle. Passive participle. Participles are oh so easy. Participles are oh so easy to learn in Hebrew. Here's the reason why. There's an O in the first letter of the root of the verb. Here again, and I think I talked about this in our Hezekiah principle, Hebrew grammarians love using the word katil, which means to kill. I don't know why, but they love using the word katil, to kill, as the descriptor here. So I did the very same in this chart. We have katil, or kotil, okay? The masculine, he is killing, right? We have kotil. We can do the feminine form of it, right? We can have the kotilim, the plural. We can have kotilot. We can have the plural doing that as well. So both singular individuals and groups can do the job of ing verb participles, okay? Here's 4 different verses for you to see, and I've got them in red here, plus some blue arrows pointed at the O marker above the first letter in the verbal root. Let's start at the top right-hand side with Deuteronomy 4:11, and it says, Hahar boer ba'esh. Hahar boer ba'esh, okay? The mountain was burning with fire, or in fire, quite literally. Was burning, B-U-R-I-N-G, right? Burning, B-U-R-N-I-N-G. It has the ing on it, so that's a participle. Below that, let's look at 1 Samuel 3:3. It is hard to read on here in case y'all are ever curious why I'm struggling to pronounce things. It's very small up here on the screen. Nevertheless, here we go. We have Ushalem, so Ushamel, so Samuel, Shochev, okay? He is laying down, okay? Behikal, in the temple, Behikal. So Ushamuel, Shochev, Behikal. And Samuel is laying down in the temple. ing, laying down. Numbers 13:28 in top left of your screen here. We have ha'am, ha'yishev, or ho'yishev, ba'eretz, okay? Ha'am, and the people. The people, ho'yoshev, are dwelling. Yeshev is to live, to dwell, to be in a place, to sit maybe sometimes. But in this instance, instead of just yeshev, we have yoshev, because you have the O marker. Hayoshev, they dwelling, so the people are dwelling in the land, be'eretz. Okay? Down below it, we have Deuteronomy 4:21. Again, these are really small here to read on the screen, so I'm doing my best for you. Yahweh Elohika ish o kelah. Yahweh Elohika ish o kelah. Yahweh, your God, he is a consuming fire. Ish is fire, okal is everything together is consuming. It's that ing, it's bringing it all together, and so that's a really cool, unique word. So I don't want you to fear participles because they are oh so easy. Oh so easy. Passive participles, like the German Shepherd sleeping on the couch with his ball. Passive participles, we like to say if it's a passive participle, you're not the problem. If it's a passive participle, you're not the problem. How do we know that you're not the problem? Because there's a you in the verb. And we see that down here for shmar, right? Shmar is to guard, to keep, okay? And so in this instance, we have shmur, and the you, as you see there under the masculine singular, the you has been shoved in between second and third position. So typically, it's going to be the sheen, the mem, and the resh. But we have a vav with the U point there, shoved in the middle. Shmur. So you are not the problem if it's a passive participle. So again, whenever we're doing our Hezekiah principle and we circle the root, if you circle the root and you find 4 letters instead of 3, well, then it inevitably is one of these 2 principles, either the Noah or the Nimrod principle. Okay, and we're going to come to Nimrod here in a second. Likewise, we continue on. You can have that in the plural form, right? So we have shmurim, okay? We have shmurot over there in the female plural. Shmurah over there in the feminine singular. It's the u. You are not the problem. It's the verb. It has a u within it. This can then also be difficult for us to bring over to English. These are some instances that Dr. Griffin has grabbed rightly and talks about in his course. But the U in these that we see there, the vav U sound, okay, it is not translated in English into an ing ending. So your English Bible will actually not be of help in noting always if it is a participular verb, okay? So we have here sharuf, okay? That's actually typically in the dictionary form, it's going to be saref, right? Seraphim, the burning ones, seraphim. But here we have sharuf. It is burning, ing. But notice how it's often brought over into English. The one who is burned. Not necessarily the one who is burning. Okay? There's other instances where this happens. And so we have shafuta, which is from shafat. Shafat is to judge. Shafat shathim, right? The judges were judging, the beginning of the book of Judges. But we have here shafutah. The u showed up in this instance. But notice there, it is the one who is judged. It's lacking the ing. And so sometimes this happens to us in the passive form. Because it'd be really difficult. Think about it. It'd be really difficult if we're going to try to make this a passive ing. He is the one who is judging. Well, no. In that instance of my English sentence, that is active participle, not passive. The person that we're talking about is being judged. So you could, if you wanted to, add a being verb, such as being, and that will bring it over to being the ing type of thing, the one who is being judged. That might be some of the ways that your English Bible will handle this, the passive participular verbs, but it's not always the case. So don't rely on your English Bible to tell you the Hebrew cases of it. And you see these other ones that we have down here. Again, we have the shrufot, then we have the shafutim, okay, the ones who are being judged, plural form of both of those, both the feminine and the masculine, they're on the second and third line down toward the bottom. So what about other stems though? Because if you notice, all of these are cal stems. Cal, again, quack, neck, pippity pop, hippity hop, hip pael, that little chart that we covered back in the Hezekiah principle. These are cal verbs, which means they are simple verbs. Simple verbs. Hebrew likes to talk about the veracity or the method or the potency of a verb, okay? So what about the other ones, such as nifal or pl or pual or the hitpael, etc.? What about active participles, passive participles for non-cal verbs? Well, this is really interesting. You'll find a meme at the beginning of it. You'll find a meme at the beginning of it. Yom is the word for sea, and so if you have read the book of Exodus, Yom Suf, or Yom Sufre, depending upon your reading of the text, okay, and that's the Red Sea, Yom Suf. Here, Mayim is also water, okay, Mayim is water, and what we find is that words that are participles that are not cal, this very simple form, words that are not cal participles, but yet our participles will have a meme shoved to the beginning of it. Because the meme, like water, is going to designate that it is always moving. Hence, moving has ing on it. Here's some instances for you. Look for the meme on the prefix, right? Me. So we have, let me start on the far right-hand side and then read left, because that's how we do it in Hebrew, right? So we have me kutal. Well, this is me, so that's going to tell me if I see a meme at the beginning of the root, whenever I do my Hezekiah principle, it is a participular verb. It is a participular verb, but not a cal participle. So then I have to look through it and go, okay, what is this? And so then I circle, I look for the dagesh, right? No dagesh in the first letter, which is in this instance the kof. There's no dagesh there, but there is a dagesh in the second, the the tet. So then I look back toward the front and say, okay, what class vowel do we have there? It's a U. So this is a pu'al. So it's a pu'al participular verb. The list goes on with this, right? We have a pa'al over there with the next one. We can go down and we can have a maketal, okay? We can have a maketil, which is a hifil. We can have a matkatil, which is a hitpael. So if you see a meme added on to the beginning of the verb root, know that it's a participle. Know that it is a participle. So that's Noah. What about Nimrod? Let's talk about Nimrod. Within Nimrod, we end up covering the different types of infinitives. Nimrod, we end up covering the types of infinitives. One way that you might find infinitives, which is, in my opinion, the most common way that I've encountered in reading the Bible, is the infinitive construct, 6,669 times, according to Dr. Griffin. There is an absolute infinitive, which we'll cover in a second, and those only occur 817 times, okay? But an infinitive is adding quite literally a llama to the front side of the word, which adds the to the verb. Adds the to the verb, okay? And then you can also add a kaf, as you see there, or a bait to the beginning of a word, and that can also tell you that it is an infinitive, okay? That can tell you it is also an infinitive. And typically the way and reason of knowing that the bait or the kaf is an infinitive marker is that there's a dagesh and a shagol below it. A dagesh and a shagol below it. Look at these texts that we have before us, okay? And so we have it right there. Let's go with let's read the Kings 18:4 passage. The Kings 18:4 passage, the second one down, right? And so it reads as such. Again, it's small print on the screen that I'm looking at right here, okay? Be hakarit, Yezebel et Nevi Yahweh, okay? And Jezebel, that's what that is. And Jezebel, she cut off the prophets of the Lord. Now, all the way back over there, karat is the cut, karate chop, okay? But we have a bait with a hay in front of it, hakarat, okay, hakarat. So what that tells me is it's a hifil, because notice there's that yod there, but there's also that bait. And you wouldn't say in cutting or in cut, or to cut. It's going to sound really weird. So you're going to have to do some magical English to it to make it sound like quality English grammar. And in the instance of this particular translation, they say, when Jezebel cut off the prophets. When Jezebel cut off the prophets. So my voice is going, so let's just keep jumping through this. But I want you to look through these. Notice that we have the bait, the kaf, the lamed, and these all can be added onto a verb, and it makes it into an infinitive. Infinitives, you know these in case you're like, I don't really know what infinitive is. There's two really famous infinitives here in the United States, and to infinity and beyond. Of course, that would be from Toy Story, Buzz Lightyear, to infinity and beyond. But then also, as a Trekkie, I really love this next one, to boldly go where no man has gone before. And yes, that is a split infinitive, but thank you, it has now been approved because of that particular quote. Infinitive absolutes, though, do not have a lamed, a bait, or a kaf added to the beginning of the verb. They have a marker within it that tells you that it is a infinitive. Notice right here, we have both on this. We have a lamed plus an O-class vowel. Again, Noah, and now we're moving on to Nimrod, the O in the second letter there, the second letter of the root. So we have li katol, okay, so to kill, but it's an infinitive, to kill. We have li shafot, to judge. The vowel in the second, like Nimrod, we have the O in the second letter, is different than Noah, which is in the first letter. If the O is in the second letter, it's an infinitive. So whenever you do the Hezekiah principle, you circle the root. If you circle the root and you see there's an O in the second letter or above the second letter, pause and say it might be an infinitive. It might be an infinitive, and then work through it. Right here is a few verses for you to look at and consider. These are also in the textbook. I would encourage you to read them because it is small here on my screen to read and difficult for you. Our reading text, by the way, in the video series, it'll be me on my iPad, so it'll be a lot easier for me to read out loud for you. So we have right here, Zachor et Hayom Hazeh. Zachor et Hayom Hazeh. Okay? To remember this day. Notice in parentheses, to. Why? Because the O, zakar, the three letters, the zayin, the kaf, and the resh, that is to remember, or remember alone, okay? That is remember in the dictionary. Whenever we put the O above the vav there in that second position, so it's pushed the third over and stuck it in there, that tells us it is an infinitive construct, okay? We can look there at 1 Samuel 22:13, right? Okay, so we have ve sha'ul lo be lo him. And so to inquire, sha'ul, lo, unto God, right? To inquire for him of God, all right? We can read the bottom one maybe as well. Let's try that there. It might look a little bit better. Genesis 2:18. Lo tov hiyot ha-adam le bado, okay? So we have right there the hayot. It is not good for man to be alone. Haya is typically the verb, but it changed. One of the hay ran away. Okay, one of the hay ran away at the backside. We have a tav that showed up and it scared the hay away. Hay is one of Jonah's letters. And he likes to run away just like him. Nevertheless, don't fear participles and infinitives. Participles, we remember Noah. They are oh so easy. If it is a passive participle, you are not the problem. Look for a you within the spelling of the root word. Whenever it comes over to the idea of infinitives, you could either have a lamed added to it, which would be very easy to see, lay, and then a verb behind it. Or you might also see the kaf or the bait with the dagesh and the sigol below it. That's a signifier that it's to as well. Last, whenever we come to the infinitive construct, I want you to remember that it's the O, such as in Nimrod. So if you have an O vowel above a vav added into the root that you circled, there's 4 letters in the root, Mario. Okay, well, if there's a vav there in that third position, typically between the second and third letters, right? If there's a vav with an O there, hey, I'm going to tell you right now, it's infinitive construct. This is infinitives and participles. Do not fear, my friends. You can do this. It's a very simple principle. Please do the activities that are within the textbook, and we will see you in the next lesson. Have a good day. Bye-bye.